Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Enough channel. In this video we're going to do our tops, chops, traps and slaps for round 14 of the 2024 NRL Fantasy season. So a bit to digest after last night's Origin. Won't go back over the topics I talked about in the Supercoach video of the same nature, but it does obviously impact fantasy as well. So how it works for those that are new to the channel, new to the concept, is if we have a trade-in option that we think is a good idea this week, well, that's tops. If there's a trade-in option that we think should go, we're happy to give them the chop. If there's a trade-in option that we're not convinced on, it's probably a trap. And if there's a trade-out option that we think people should keep, well, then we need to give them a slap. So, as usual, we'll go position by position, starting at hooker. And the top pick this week, once again, Brendan Hands. So, not giving him all the credit, but, the return of Gutho and Moses definitely made the Eels look a good team, or a better team, I should say. Probably a good team, to be fair. I didn't see the game, if I'm being 100% transparent. But regardless, I think Brendan Hands will have that job for a while. And I guess, the fallout from Origin has sort of scared me off the pick I've been pumping up for a while. So I'll put Hands on top. Just quickly, Brandon Smith on the chopping block, I think makes sense. He's on the bye this week. Just really isn't showing a lot of form in terms of Supercoach and fantasy. So, can cut him. I've got Appy Coruscant as a trap, and I've been spruiking what a great pick this is after he didn't get picked for Origin 1. But after the game, there was a bit of talk about they were lacking a bit of creativity out of dummy half. Reece Robson tackled his guts out, made some big defensive plays, but obviously their attack was the bit that was struggling. So there's a chance Coruscant could come in. So I think the play is, although it's going to cost an extra trade, is, get Hands in, have a look over the next couple of weeks at how much money he can make. And then, if Coruscant misses out in game 2, it's probably fair to bring him in at that point. Because, we'll have Hands will be on the bye. From memory, yep, that's correct. Just trying to remember now. Jaden Brayley as well, who's a popular pick. We'll have the bye in round 16, so we may be looking for a hooker, in which case Appy Coruscant is a perfect option. The other option for round 16 is obviously Jeremy Marshall-King, so if you've got him, hold on to him, do not trade him out. The Dolphins players, it's obviously tough this week if you've got the Dolphins, the Roosters, the Raiders in your team. There's lots of fantasy relevant options. But if you've got Marshall-King, do your best to hold him, because he's going to be a top option for round 16, 17, 19 and 20. Onto the middles, and Adam Blake is the top pick this week. The Warriors, obviously coming off the bye, will cover round 16 and 17. The Origin period is usually when they shine, given they don't have a lot of Origin representation. In fact, I don't think they've got anyone this year, with Kurt Capewell not in the squad. So you can bring Fanua Blake in with confidence that he'll do a job for you over the next 6 weeks, and then obviously as a season-long keeper also. On the chopping block, we've gone with Sam Hughes. So the Bulldogs do have great bye coverage. However, Sam Hughes' role has turned to rubbish. He starts in that first 20 minutes, takes the heat out of the middles, and then they bring on the smaller forwards for the last 60, and they just use their footwork and athleticism to tire out the opposition middle forwards. So Sam Hughes lost the role, so he's lost his spot in our fantasy teams. Toby Couchman, not to be confused with his twin brother Ryan, is the trap this week. So bench forwards, unless they've got a role where they come in and play 60 minutes, with offloads and the like. You saw our Terrell Mays, for example, Spencer Lenu to a degree does something similar. Um, but Couchman, was lucky to score a try on the weekend. He's not going to score tries every week. You're not paying bottom dollar for him either. You have to pay up to go from Sam Hughes to him. So I just don't think there's enough value to justify it. So I wouldn't be bringing in Couchman. And Max Plath is the slap this week. Um, so again, Dolphins player, you know, decent break even relative to price, has scoring potential. So no need to panic and trade out Max Plath. On the edge, so once again, I've gone with two options because they obviously are both valuable in different ways. You've got Dave Fafita, who is probably the number one second rower in fantasy and Supercoach. Just his explosive upside with offloads, tackle busts. You can find a try, but I guess a slightly downgraded version at a slightly cheaper price, slightly more value is Eli Katoa from the Storm. So personally, I'm going for Feeder mostly on the fact I've actually already got Sean Bloor in my squad as a bit of a value option on the edge. So I don't know how comfortable I am carrying two players from the same club in the same position. But if you're looking to bring in edges this week and you've got one and not the other, you bring in the second one. They'd both be great to have in your squad for the rest of the season. Angus Crichton on the chopping block, so did enough I think to sort of hold his spot in the Origin team. So at that price, we can chop him. We can easily get to Dave Fafita. We can obviously make 100k, bring in Eli Katoa and get similar outputs. As I said, for the rest of the season, but particularly the next few weeks, Katoa should outscore Crichton. Kyle Matangi I've got as the trap this week. Um, if you take out the two games where he's made line breaks and ridiculous amount of tackle breaks and stuff, he's averaging 40. So you're paying 650k for a 40 average edge. It's not for me. And the slap this week, it was really tough to find one. I've gone with Morgan Smithies, but again, I've said to hang on to those Dolphins assets that we've talked about previously. I could totally understand if you wanted to chop Morgan Smithies. Um, just that, 575k is probably what he's worth. Um, he hasn't scored a try is the only thing. He might be a chance of jagging a try. He will play round 16, round 17. So, if you're struggling for numbers, he is versatile, middle edge, dual position. Um, will score you that 45 sort of points. Um, so, I guess if you're bringing in Kalamatangi, you might as well save 80k, save a trade, hang on to Morgan Smithies. Into the halves and the top pick this week, maybe fanboying slightly here, given some of the other options, but I have gone with Lockie Galvin. Um, you know, buy coverage from Tigers is fantastic after their buy last week. Break even at 14 means he's still got a bit of value, and he just looks really good at passing the eye test. So I think if you haven't got him, and I think 60% of the comp don't have him, or at least 50%, if you're in that half, absolutely get him in this week. Nico Hines, I've got on the chopping block. He's not playing this week. Even if they mix things up for Origin 2, he won't play round 16 anyway. So I think you can let him slide back in value a bit, and then get on in a few weeks. Um, I think the Sharks may play round 19 from memory. Uh, I think their last buy is round 20. So you can have a look then how your numbers are for 19. Hopefully he's dropped a couple 100k in value, and we can grab him again and keep him for the run home. The trap this week, I've gone with Mitchell Moses, sort of in line with what I said about Nico might miss out in Origin 2. It might be to bring in Mitchell Moses as that, bit more of a experienced game manager. The kicking game's probably a little bit stronger. Um, So yeah, there is a chance that Moses plays. Admittedly, the Eels are on the bye round 16, so if you were going to hold him for that bye, it's not going to make a world of difference. Um, but it's just one of those things where you can have a look, and then obviously if you want to bring him in, I think the Eels play. They're another team that plays 19 and has the bye in 20. So Hines and Moses have a very similar profile in that sense. Um, so yeah, just something to be mindful of is that Moses could be in and around the New South Wales team going forward. And the slap, this is one of the craziest things I've seen. The third most popular trade out option in the halves is KO Weeks. And, even at his elevated price, he's made us a good chunk of money. I think that's about 300k from memory. He's still got a negative break even. He's doing all the kicking there at the Raiders. The Raiders are going well. So it just doesn't make sense to trade him out. And I guess, the question is, well, what if you've got Marshall King and Crichton and who else we talked about? Plath, and, there is others. You know, Weeks is probably the last or second to last player that you should be trading out. I'd even trade Marshall King out before KO Weeks. Just that's how much value he's got at the moment. Covers round 16 and 17, as we said, which is going to be super handy. And then by about round 19, Fogarty might be close to being back anyway. So it could just be the perfect time to upgrade him to, a keeper for the run home. Onto the centres, and Jack Whiten is my top pick this week. Pretty intriguing pick, sliding into the 5/8 position. I think he was due to in round 12 and missed out, or something happened there. I can't exactly remember what. But, Souths do have a good run. I think they have the bye in round 17, but we'll cover 16, 19, 20, which is super handy. And yeah, getting close to the ball. I did have a look. I think he averages about 46 for games where he plays 5/8 and plays most of the game. Between 60 to 80 minutes was the parameters. So he's priced at about a 28, which means there's a lot of potential for value. So, if you're looking for a centre this week, I think Jack Whiten is the way to go. On the chopping block, I've gone with Ethan Strange. So he was the one that was in between Hines and Weeks in the halves, but I thought I'd hold over to this part. Again, break even at 21 means he's not the most urgent sell, but that we do have a lot of Raiders, Roosters, Dolphins players. So, we can't keep them all this week. So, Ethan Strange has done a job for us, made some cash, but we'll move on from him. Obviously you can make a profit by bringing in a Jack White. The trap this week for the centres, I've gone with Braden Burns. Obviously playing really well for the Cowboys, but we have to remember the Cowboys still haven't had a bye yet. They've got round 16, round 19 they're out, and then they still have another bye before the end of the season. So, Braden Burns might do all right this week, but after that, you'll be sitting him on the bench with not a lot to do. And the trap this week, the slap this week, is my new favourite player in fantasy, Ewan Aitken. So, captained him last week, and he absolutely crushed it with an 81. So, I did say KO Weeks was in that top two conversation of who not to trade out. This guy is the other person you do not want to trade out. He's essentially the number one centre option, given that he plays on the edge. He's always been a tackle buster, creating, on edges, whether it's been in the centres or a second row. But now he's in the second row. It just means he gets more opportunity to do his thing, a few more tackles defensively as well. It all just lines up. So, keep Weeks, keep Aitken. If you need to, trade everyone else. And then the wing fullbacks to finish. So I've gone with Latrell as the top pick. So another South player, similar to what we just talked about with Jack Whiten. We know he can drift in and out of games, but he's priced at 719k because he does average up there amongst wing fullbacks. So if you've got the cash and you're looking for a wing fullback, absolutely get on Latrell. On the chopping block, Josh Adokar, probably not the most popular option, but just give him a shout out. With the hamstring injury, out for 8 to 10. Obviously a few people would have had him as a bit of a pod. Bulldogs good bye coverage, etc., etc. So, um, yeah, if you got the Fox, you do have to trade him out. The trap, I've gone with Scott Drinkwater. So obviously played really well last week, scored quite well. As an owner, I was very happy with that output. But like we said with Brain Burns, upcoming buys, you can probably use that money elsewhere to get more points over the period. If you're looking week to week, then Drinkwater is a good shout. But over the next 6 weeks, he's going to have two less games than well, at least one less game than someone like a Latrell Mitchell. And the slap, I've gone with Dylan Edwards. So named on the extended bench, so it sounds like he's a chance of playing. Failing that, he might be in line as soon as next week. And even then, has the bye round 16, 19 anyway. So whether he's playing for New South Wales or not, if you can hold him for those 2 rounds, he's a season long keeper. So, it's one of those things. If you need players this week, okay, you could chop him, but he's one you can try and hold on to. But that concludes the tops, chops, traps, and slaps for round 14. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below the video. Give us a like if you enjoy this sort of analysis. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.